you very much. I'm aware I'm now stood between everybody and coffee and going home, so we'll try not to take up too much time. Hopefully, everybody has been having some great conversations today. The little groups that we all sat in earlier, I very much enjoyed that, listened to some wonderful stories, and we've had people coming over to the stand and talking to us. And at NewVoiceMedia, that's what we're all about, is trying to enable great conversations, whether that's through voice channels or any other channels. We want to try and help people have a better conversation. And what I'm here to talk about is creating emotive conversations, and specifically creating emotive conversations today. There's been some talk of things like AI, and we talk a lot about big data, and I want to talk about stuff that people should be able to do right now. So to maybe give you a couple of ideas that you could take back to your contact centers, or back to your businesses, and put into place immediately. A little bit about me. So as said, my name is Phil Davitt, and I look after all the projects for the UK and Europe for NewVoiceMedia. So reporting into me, I've got some project managers, professional services consultants, network engineers, and they're out there delivering experiences to customers every day. We go out, we meet customers who have either already got our product or have just purchased it, and we talk to them about what sort of experience they want to have, both for their employees and their customers. And we will try and build a customized solution based on that experience. So for us, the conversation of what experience do you want to give your customer will drive the end product. As I mentioned, there's been talk of AI. I love the idea of AI. I think it's going to be huge. And there are elements of it out there. We saw it earlier with Peter. You know, there are things that are definitely available. And we live in a world that is connected. This is to me, better than AI, and it's the Internet of Things. I feel like I'm repeating a couple of people that were up earlier when we talk about the Amazon Echoes and the Alexas, and how everything is now interconnected. One of the answers to the questions earlier about why things are different now than they were 5, 10 years ago was because the Internet of Things allows us to use APIs to connect lots of systems together. So that means that everybody should know about you when you're contacting companies. One of the examples that I really love from the Amazon Echo as a device, and I've got this set up on mine, I control my lights and feel very smug when it can turn the TV on and off, and my wife says to me, "What are you doing? You lunatic. Why are you using this to control the TV?" But one thing it does do for me, and I've had to set it up, but I can use it to order my repeat prescription for my inhaler. So I will say to it, "Alexa, order my prescription." And 2 days later, it is there in my chemist. I can just go pick that up. That is the maximum effort that I have to put into going to pick that up. And I had to build that kind of connectivity myself into it and had to set that up. But that's the type of story we're trying to accomplish, where somebody has very, very limited effort that they have to put in to get a goal. I'm also going to tell you a couple of stories that when we were huddled in our group in the corner and we were talking about those really ugly stories. And I said, I'm going to save mine for the presentation. And it's about this connected world. And the stories that we had, the themes that kept coming out was that I was contacting one department and they didn't know what the other department had said. Or I'd called somebody up and there was no integration there. And it reminded me of a story from about 5 or 6 years ago with a mobile phone company who shall remain nameless. And I was on their website and I saw a special offer that they were talking about. So I said, great, well, I'll web chat because that's my first thing. It's right there. I'll just web chat. And the person said, yeah, absolutely, no problem. That offer is available. You just have to call us. So no problem. What's the telephone number? I dialed that number. I got through to an IVR, and the IVR said, are you a business or a consumer? I was consumer. Are you calling about a new offer, an existing offer, or your current account? Calling about a new offer? And are you looking to take this out now, or do you want some information? You follow the IVR tree through. The phone gets answered by somebody that says, yeah, hello, thank you for calling said phone company. How can I help? All right, well, first of all, I've just web chatted you. And then I've just entered all my details into your IVR. You should know what I want, but I'll tell you anyway. And they said, you're through to the wrong department. Even though I'd put all my details. Oh. Anyway, so they put me through to the right department. He said, well, actually, we can't help you. If you have a look on this website, it will tell you what you have to do. Okay, so I go to the website. And that says you have to go into a store. It's there on the website. You must go into a store. So I went to the store. And they said, we can't help you. You have to call the call center. And so I pulled it up on my phone and said, there's your website. It says I have to come into the store. They said, sorry, the till says no. We can't do it. It was broken at every single stage of the journey. It didn't have that wow factor, which when the whole crowd kind of heard what the person at Nissan said, and everyone went, ooh. But for me, it was broken at every stage, and it stuck with me for years. And it's an example that I give when I'm talking to our customers about creating those connected journeys. So we're all about delivering the best customer experience. And we've looked at a lot of research around this. And we've got some research that's come up from Forrester, and we've been able to use that research to find out that actually what everybody thinks is the end goal, getting somebody to reach their goal and making it easy, isn't everything. Another story from actually in the last couple of weeks, I had a kettle. I got it on my wedding gift list, and 3 years afterwards, it broke. And its warranty was well out. But 2 days ago, I went and I picked up a brand new one. They just gave me a replacement. They went, yeah, no problem. That kettle's broken. It's out of warranty, but we'll give you a replacement. Did I achieve my goal? Yes, I have a brand new kettle at home. I'm making lots of tea. I skipped the bit of the story where it took me 6 weeks of calling different teams and different departments and not letting go, calling the manufacturer as well as the retail outlet to say, this thing sparked, there was flames, and I really exaggerated it a little bit. But there's a big lot of effort that took me to actually get to this bit. So, yeah, I got my kettle, I got my end result, but there was a lot of effort. Now, even if I'd have done that, that's only 50% of my journey. Can anybody think what the other 50% might be to delivering customer excellence? I'm not going to pick people out of the audience, but it was been touched upon a number of times. We talked about how people were feeling about it, and it's emotion. It is, how did you make me feel? So we're talking now about an emotive customer experience. The best experience is an emotive experience. You know who I am. You know why I'm calling. You're identifying problems that I might have, and you're making me feel valued. Now that should be very simple. Sounds very simple, but to achieve it and to actually do it throughout an organization means then suddenly being joined up in so many different areas, because those parts of your business that aren't talking to each other suddenly need to start talking to each other, so you know who I am. Just very quickly wait till the photos are done, and we'll skip. Right. So I'm going to go through a couple of ideas that we've come up with. This is what we go through with our customers when we're talking about how to try and create that experience. And the first step is to start collecting data of when and why people are contacting you. We specifically say contacting you. We're not talking about calling you necessarily. Everything from visiting your website to tweeting you, to using live chat, to texting you, whatever means of communication you've got, we want to be able to track why people are doing it, when they're doing it, what's causing that. We're going to use that, we're going to analyze it. This used to be a presentation about intelligence, because we talk about artificial intelligence. Well, this is just intelligence. Take that data and try and start putting some analysis around it. Look at it with the eyes of your customers. Why are they contacting you at these particular times? So now you're starting to build a picture of the things that might cause them to contact you. We'll go into a bit of detail in that in a moment. We want to use that data to try and now build journeys for your customers. The real specific point on here is to use the technology that you have. So many times when we meet customers, they said that their journeys are built in a particular way because their technology demands it. Oh, we can't do that because the system makes us do it this way. But we have to do it that way because that's how we're configured. Whereas actually the technology needs to just be an enabler. It needs to be something that sits there in the background where you say, I want to achieve this. The technology says, fantastic, let's go do that for you. And lastly, rinse and repeat. It's a journey, it's a cycle. You're going to keep going back. If you just turn around and say, this is what we're putting into place, great, we've won, sit down. By the time you've sat down, you've lost. You need to get back out there because somebody else is doing it. Somebody else is doing it faster. They're doing it smarter. You need to keep iterating again and again. Incremental gains was something that Rebecca talked about earlier. And absolutely right. Try something. Get it a little bit better. Once that works, try something else. Make it a little bit better. So collecting data. It's not fun. Are there any MI analysts in the house? Yeah, it's not fun. But it's something that's important to do because this tells you about your customer base. And you want to start collecting data from all of the different points that you can. My background is contact centers back when they were call centers before everything else started coming into our contact center industry. So we talk a lot about calls. Disposition codes at the end of the call, or wrap codes or busy codes, whatever somebody might call them. That gives you an idea of why that phone call came in. You can also start using things like speech analytics to have a look at the call to say, great, let's pick out the reasons why this particular call came in. When speech analytics is turned into conversation analytics, rather than just recognizing speech, you can start doing the same sort of thing with your emails, with your tweets, and your texts. So you start collecting data that people are contacting me at certain times for certain reasons. And then you can start expanding that out to, let's say, your website. If someone is on your website and they opt to send you an email when they're on a certain page, or if they call you when their basket is full, that's valuable data that you can start collecting. Where should you collect it? My personal preference is within your CRM. Now, I don't sell CRM. What I think is you've probably already got one. You've probably spent a lot of money on it. You've spent a lot of time on it, and you've got some hard-won customer data inside your CRM. So whatever tools you're using, whatever technology is enabling you, should enable you to roll up into that CRM platform. I think Peter mentioned earlier, he used the phrase, a single source of truth. Your customer data is there already. So those APIs that were mentioned, that should help roll things up into a single place. That's helping you get that data. So now let's analyze what we've got. A real quick example of the when and the why. When, well, it could be that it happens on a cycle. Might be monthly, might be yearly, might be daily, who knows. But your cycle might be billing cycles. Great, when we send out bills, people call us. Kind of obvious, but do you know what? Have you looked? Have you done the analysis? When warranties are due or upgrades have come around, people are contacting you. You're starting to put a little bit of sense into, great, if someone's upgrade is due in a week and they call us, that might be why they're calling us. Or if someone's bill has come out and they've just sent us a tweet, might be to do with that. It could be event-based. So this is when something has happened to cause them to contact you. A system outage, let's say a system slowdown, system maintenance maybe. Maybe they've gone to your website. As I mentioned before, if someone's gone there and they're having a look at something, you definitely want them to know that that's why they're contacting you. Or delivery tracking. That's a big user case for us. Is, you think of the likes of DPD as an organization, hundreds of thousands of calls a day from people calling them and saying, "Where's my parcel?" If someone has a parcel due that day and they're calling you, you can probably assume that's going to be why. So if we have a look at a really brief example, you can probably see the words across the bottom. I hope you can. And this tells me that across the course of a month, my biggest cause of calls in this contact center based on disposition codes is billing queries. So on any given day, someone's calling me, it's probably about a bill. Except that actually, the billing queries are only peaking at the end of the month. So I put another layer of data on it, and I can say, if someone's calling me in the first couple of weeks, it's probably not a bill. But if they're calling me at the end of the month, maybe it is. I might then want to put another lens on it and say, That first call was about a bill. What happens if they call back within the next week? But if someone's already contacted me about a bill, I can now, through my data, look and say, the next call, the majority of them are complaints. Now that helps me look at my customer journey to say, well, people are clearly not getting the responses they need the first time round. What can I do to improve that? What can I stop that? What can I do to stop that happening? So I want to have a look at a couple of options of what we've talked about, some things that we have done with customers that have helped with this. And one of them's our own. I mentioned maintenance and kind of system slows. Well, we have a trust site available. Anybody can go onto our trust site and they can have a look to see exactly what the different platforms are doing. Different regions, the different platforms. Great, it's all operational and green. And up in the top corner, you can see a subscribe button. You can subscribe to that, and you can get text alerts that say, this is what's happening. There is system maintenance going on. You might see a slowdown in this particular region, or we're switching from one node to another. We're proactively feeding that information. We don't have to wait for people to call us to say, yes, yeah, we know that you're calling us about this. Let me tell you why. I love this example because we've been talking about it for years in the contact center industry. It's the press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for this, press 4 for that. I mentioned earlier when I called our mobile phone company that I have to go through all of these. You select each option every time and it doesn't remember who you are. It's painful. This is a really simplified view of what that might look like. And I've got, if I want to get through to a consultant or an agent, I might have to answer 3 different questions. Now you imagine that you know who I am because you've got my telephone number, you've got my contact details. When I'm contacting this company, maybe I've contacted them before, why would they need to ask me these questions if they can make an intelligent decision? Why say, oh, are you calling about your business phone or your personal phone? If you know I only have a personal phone and I'm calling you from it. So what we say is you take the information that you've got, you take those APIs and that cloud technology, and you use it to make an informed decision. And you route that person to the best possible agent to deal with them. Now that's not to say every single time you're going to be able to know 100% why they're contacting you. It would be great if you could, but sometimes you might just need to send them to the last menu tone. But what if you could just take out the agent altogether? There was some talk earlier about auto attendants and bots and things like that. And call deflection, it can be useful. If you can give customers information that they want when they're contacting you, as long as they've got the option to still speak to a real human being, that can be a real win because they get what they're looking for, it's nice and quick. The added change here is that I've called and you know why I'm calling. You've shown me that you know who I am and you've given me that information. So you've resolved it, but you've also made a connection with me. This is an example of a customer of ours who, as I mentioned earlier, have hundreds of thousands of people contact them on a daily basis to track parcel deliveries. As you could probably expect, one of the first things that they've done is automate that response that says, this is where your parcel is. This particular example, though, takes it a step further, which is if you're tracking a parcel on their app and you hit call, it passes all the information of everything you've been doing on that app into a back office system. And then when your phone call goes through, it pulls all that information back in. I'm not going to have to repeat anything. I'm not going to have to say, I was looking at my app and I was looking at this parcel and it gave me this date. That information is already there. So it can adjust and adapt that journey. And if I do end up going through to a particular contact center agent, they know what I've been looking at. They know what I've been doing. And they can give me that answer straight away. We had a talk earlier from somebody from a bus company. This is a European bus company, so not a competitor. I don't have to feel bad about bringing this up. Flixbus, they're like a National Express type company. They travel all over Europe, and you can book a bus from one place to take you to another, as a bus service works. And if I'm sat there in a bus stop and I'm waiting for my bus and I pick up the phone and I call, They have 3 or 4 different systems that are linked together, that are sharing information, that say, this is who I am, and by the way, I've got a bus journey booked. Then they have live bus data through GPS-tracked bus. Love this. Internet of Things connects to the bus. And now they know where the bus is. So I pick up my phone, I call them, and it says, we know that you've got a bus from Berlin to Munich, and it's due in 5 minutes. We're just letting you know it's coming around the corner now. I don't need to talk to anybody, but that's personalized. It's not general information, it's telling me what I want to know. This is something that's in place now. These are all technologies that are available for people today. And I don't know if people said, these guys they're only just down the road in Droitwich. And Vax came to us about 5 years ago. And actually said, yeah, we've got this contact center, and we're having loads of problems with our customer satisfaction, with our NPS, with our employee satisfaction. They've got 6 or 7 systems to use all at the same time. It's so difficult. We're going on a whole business transformation journey. And we want you guys to be part of it. We want you guys to come in at the same time. We're bringing in a CRM platform. We want you to remove that IVR structure. It still sits there under the bonnet. But actually, the majority of customers don't see it. Because if I'm a Vax customer, which I am, and I have one of the cordless Vax vacuum cleaners, if I call Vax, they know that. And they send me through to the department that deals with that. I don't have to say, oh no, it's not a washer jet, or it's not a carpet cleaner. They know what I've got. If I call back the next day, they take it a step further. And they send me to the person that I spoke to the previous day. It prioritizes that person for me. And they've been doing this for 4 years. And they keep setting up another level. That's those iterations. So if I complain, next time I call, it goes through to the complaints team. If I have an open order or an open case, it goes through to that case owner. So they use all the information they've got in their ordering system, in their CRM, and in all their back office tools to join all of these things together. We now get back to the rinse and repeat. You've got to ask your customers how that service is. It's really important to make sure that you don't stop. Right? The contact center, in my opinion, and it's right at the heart of your customer experience. It's the spear point. It's the time when people are speaking to you. It's the face of your organization, the face of your brand to customers. So whether you're going to be asking them through surveys after a phone call, through text messages, solutions like rant and rave, listen to the feedback that your customers are giving you. It's incredibly important to make sure that you take that, put that back into your data set from the beginning, and cycle back round again. Why is that important? I'm going to put a number up there. It's a big number, actually it's a big number and it's a big screen. And when we were talking earlier, when the crowd was up here earlier, Laura mentioned, I think she said something about having a falling out with her bank. She said, do you know what, I'm just lazy. I don't have the energy to change bank. I'm that guy that changes bank. I got a letter from my bank saying, we're going to put the interest on your credit card up. It's going to be more expensive for you. And then in the same week, I got a nice letter from them saying, oh, by the way, we're going to put the interest on your savings account down. And I went in to see the bank manager, and I said, look, I have 2 current accounts. I have a mortgage. I have a loan. I have all of this sort of stuff with you. I've got a credit card. I have a lot of debt thinking about it. But I've got all this stuff with you, and you're my bank. I really don't want you to do this. And he said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. I said, I feel like you're putting this on me. I'll tell you what. How about if I said to you, I will take all of my accounts elsewhere if you don't remove this extra fee, these extra charges. And he said, I'm sorry, sir, there is nothing I can do. 4 weeks later, all of my accounts, mortgage aside, were with another company, with another bank, because I switched when they gave me a terrible experience. I've not been clocking the exact time. We're about half an hour or so into the talk. That number is globally how much money has switched from one company to another since I started talking. That was in 2016. I can imagine what it's probably going to be now. So this number rolls up. It's huge when you think about it within 30 minutes. It rolls up to 10.8 billion in sterling every year that moves from one company to another, driven by bad service. That is not a small number. And by just stopping and looking at our customers, figuring out how we can make emotive connections to them, how we can get that extra 50%, we can lower that number, even if it's just by the part for our businesses. So I want to encourage everybody to continue that journey, continue that loop, go back to your places of business and think, right, what have we got in our technology stack today that allows us to try and make those journeys better for our customers and try and make better interactions and emotional connections. Thank you very much.
Great to hear the journey that you've taken some of your customers on. Quick question from me, if I may. Obviously, kind of organisations like VAX and Flexibus kind of are quite advanced in their journeys. What advice would you give to an organisation embarking on an integrated contact centre experience?
We see customers from the whole spectrum. VAX is one end of that spectrum who said, we want to do everything. We want to do a full business transformation. And it worked really well for them. They have some wonderful stories that they can tell about employees that left 6 months before who came back after their transformation because other employees rang them up and said, everything you hated is gone. So you can go the whole hog. But also, you can just take baby steps. You can say, okay, I'm going to move my CRM to the cloud. Great, that's a wonderful first step. Or if you've already got your CRM in the cloud, you can start looking at other things that you can do. So anything from a full business transformation to just make a single change. Start looking at that data, see what it tells you about your customers, and then make one change on that.
Great, thank you. Anyone else got a question for Phil?
Clearly, I covered everything.
Well, Phil will be around for drinks and networking.
I will.
So, yeah, thanks ever so much, Phil. Thank you.
No, thank you.